Coming up in this episode of Southern Newsweek, a second grass fire breaks out at Jacks Point near Queenstown, 2 Southland sisters are accepted into the New Zealand School of Dance, and we see if chip servings are the same across different shops. Hello, I'm Melissa Barton. Tuesday saw fire crews battling the second grass fire near Jacks Point in a week. Rudy Adrian has more.
2 helicopters equipped with monsoon buckets plus about 25 firefighters were out again to douse the second grass blaze in a week. Yesterday's fire was brought under control around 5 o'clock in the afternoon, having burnt about 3 hectares of grass in an area known as The Preserve, a collection of exclusive homes overlooking Lake Wakatipu just south of Frankton. The fire was started by a spark from an angle grinder being used in housing construction. And while the contractor had both a water hose and fire extinguisher on hand, they were insufficient to stop the blaze from spreading. This fire comes just 4 days after another one burnt 8 hectares of grass in the same area. Rudy Adrian, The South Today.
The Predator-Free Dunedin Partnership has been selected as one of 7 finalists for Predator-Free 2050 funding. One of the partners, the Otago Peninsula Biodiversity Group, has only been operating for 12 months. Rosella Bone has more.
Hoani Langsbury and David Chalmers overlook a farm at the Otago Peninsula with a possum-proof fence. The Otago Peninsula Biodiversity Group wants to expand the fence at the peninsula near Shield Hill when the area becomes possum-free. I'm Rosella Bone. The Otago Peninsula Biodiversity Group is one of the partners of Predator-Free Dunedin, looking for $4 million in funding from Predator-Free 2050 for the eradication of pests from 30,000 hectares around the region. The previous national government promised $69 million more in funding over the next 4 years towards predator-free goals. This year, 2 or 3 predator projects from 45 submitted across New Zealand will receive a third of their total costs from Predator-Free 2050. Predator-Free Dunedin has less than 10 days to finalise their proposal.
We came together and we looked at all the work, and we did a stock take of all the work that was going on throughout the wider Dunedin City Council area from those 19 stakeholders. And we identified the Otago Peninsula and the north side of the harbour as 2 key areas where we could meet the aspirations of 2050.
A pest program was instigated on Otago's peninsula in 2009 with around 10,000 possums killed. The group now wants to remove all predators from the peninsula by 2050.
The fence is a converted farm fence. It has a rabbit wire along from the ground up, and it has 3 electric wires running along it. One of those wires was on the existing farm fence, and we've added an additional 2 wires.
Predator-Free New Zealand will give $1 for every 2 raised by the partners. If they don't get the funding, they will continue working with the Otago Regional Council and the Department of Conservation to fund the remainder of the fence. Rosella Bone, The South Today.
2 Southland sisters are celebrating each other both being accepted into the New Zealand School of Dance. Danye and Bria Takatimu's dreams came true in December. Sharon Rees has more.
While most of their friends spend the school holidays taking a well-earned break, 11-year-old Danye and her 13-year-old sister Bria are spending up to 9 hours a day dancing. Bria auditioned for the New Zealand School of Dance Junior Associates program and Danye for the Scholars Level 2 program, and despite years of training, neither expected to get accepted.
I got home from school and I opened this present, and there was this cup, and it was all about to believe in your dreams. And then I looked in the cup and there was the letter saying I got in, and I was really excited, but I didn't actually believe that I would get in.
And I actually knew she got in before she did, and I was so excited for her. And then when I got home from school, because I was at school, and then I got home from school and Mum gave me my letter and she said she hadn't read it, and I just kind of thought like I didn't get, because I just auditioned for the experience, and then I got in and I was really excited as well.
Both girls have been with Invercargill's La Muse dance studio since the age of 3. Bria says she's loved to dance for as long as she can remember, and Danye followed suit.
Dad used to run a music shop and he listens to lots of music, and I just started dancing. And I was going to start jazz, but then I started ballet because I couldn't do jazz until I was a bit older, and then I just liked ballet so much I didn't want to stop it.
Lamu's dance teacher Hannah Skeggs says the acceptance is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity and credits the girls' success to their passion and dedication.
This is a really prestigious school that they're off to, which is New Zealand's premier school for that kind. We don't really have a lot of training opportunities in New Zealand for full-time training tuition, other than at little base level things, so this is massive.
The sisters will travel back and forth from Invercargill to Wellington during the year, meaning much of their time at home will be spent fundraising for the trips. Danye will be in Wellington for her first day at the New Zealand School of Dance in the first week of February, and Bria a few days later. Sharon Rees, The South Today.
A Queenstown resident has launched a petition calling for a ban on freedom campers in public reserves. Justine Farquharson of Lake Hayes Estate told The South Today she hopes to put pressure on local government to solve the problem. She says freedom campers are ruining public reserves and pushing lake users away due to litter and overcrowding. Mina Amso has the story.
Lake Hayes Estate resident Justine Farquharson feels sad as she wanders around Lake Hayes Reserve near Queenstown and spots little, dirty and smelly toilet tissue paper on the grass. She usually comes here with her kids, but not so much this summer.
The atmosphere has changed and it has reached a point where it's almost unsanitary for kids to climb the trees, to walk in the bushes. And I think that's sad for any community in any country.
She's getting more frustrated with freedom campers not playing by the rules. She says it's getting out of control.
There is toilet paper in the trees over there, and it's not just the toilet paper, it is actually, it smells.
Farquharson posted a message on a Facebook page recently asking residents to start a petition and maybe put pressure to pause freedom camping in the resort.
We should be finding the solutions first, as opposed to chasing our tail and trying to deal with the problem.
While Queenstown-born Kiwi Denny Bevan says he rides his bike elsewhere now and feels foreign in his own backyard.
It's open to discussion, you know, like again, a ban is quite a harsh thing, but we need to implement some changes quickly.
He believes placing a short-term ban on freedom campers would allow for local and central government to catch up on infrastructure and how it's rolled out. Not all freedom campers in the area were aware of the self-contained restriction.
Fair, I didn't know that this was only self-contained. I thought it was camping because I knew there was toilets and stuff there. So when we turned up last night and then we were like, oh, I know you're probably supposed to be self-contained. Oh well, there's those people, we're going to be back at like, might leave in the mornings.
Justine likes for Queenstown to lead by example of being a clean, green environment. She's calling out on Queenstown residents to volunteer and sign the petition. Mina Amso, The South Today.
A feed of fish and chips during summer is a Kiwi essential, but lately there's been discussion stating some shops are skimping on their chip servings. Rosella Bone has the scoop.
Friday night fish and chips. It's a summer staple, but are Dunedin chip lovers getting a raw deal when it comes to portion sizes?
How much? $10.
$10, and that's a pretty good size, isn't it? Tell me a bit about what you've ordered today here.
Fish bites, blue cod, fish bites and chips.
I'm Rosella Bone. Comments on social media this week may show the phrase cheap as chips is rapidly growing to be out of date. Recently, photos displaying the variance in portion sizes in chip orders taken around Dunedin were all over social media. This offending photo taken at Golden Walk had some crying foul on what constitutes a true scoop of chips. Many punters were complaining they simply weren't getting enough chips for what they paid. So I've got the scales here and I'm measuring each pack to find out the weight of an average scoop of chips. I started out at Mornington Takeaways to see if I could get some bang for my buck. Alright, so we've got our first lot of freshly cooked chips here. I'm just going to pop them on the scales, weighing in at just under 0.5 of a kilogram at Mornington Takeaways. And for that first scoop at Mornington Takeaways, we got $18 change back out of 20. And now back to the place that started all this controversy, the Golden Walk. Scales at the ready. It's weighing in at about 490 for one scoop of chips. That's about 2 chips less than the Mornington takeaways, give or take a few. They even obliged me by showing the size of their chip scoop. So far we've had single scoops ranging from $2 to $2.30 in Mornington. Now it's time for take 3 in South D. The crispiest the South Today team saw on our travels were probably these from Cairns in South Dunedin. So a moment of truth here at Cairns Takeaways in South Dunedin. Single scoop, 495 grams for $2. Not bad.
Yep.
Really crispy.
Yep. you like it?
Best we've seen today, I think.
Okay.
Meanwhile, these flaccid specimens were purchased from a competitor further up the hill. And so from our comprehensive survey, we found that there's not a lot of disparity between size and price of chips in Dunedin. However, some places have let themselves down a bit in execution. I'm Rosella Bone for the South Today.
Coming up after the break, Queenstown hosts a 3-day sailing regatta for young people, and concerns are raised about people jumping off Bluff's busy boat ramp. Welcome back. A 3-day sailing regatta was held in Queenstown near the end of last week. The event coincides with the boom in the number of young people taking up the sport of sailing.
Over 60 young sailors aged between 7 and 16 took part in last week's sailing competitions in Queenstown. Spanning 3 days, the New Zealand Open was the largest sailing event on Lake Wakatipu in recent years, with sailors from all over the country, as well as 20 from Australia, Hawaii and even Bermuda. Wakatipu Yacht Club Commodore John Stalker said that former Olympic and America's Cup champion Sir Russell Coutts was present and had brought his son along to the competition.
Sir Russell Coutts is here and his son's with him, and Matthias Coutts, who is actually the under-13 world champion. He won in Italy earlier this year.
The event featured the modern Bic Open sailing skiffs, especially designed for young people and with no need for tedious bailing. 9-year-old Queenstown local Blake Jackson took up sailing only very recently, but is already enjoying his involvement with the sport.
I started sailing at Christmas and I've really enjoyed it, so I've tried to do the best I can in it and get into all the competitions I can.
Conditions were mild and sunny, although Commodore Stalker told us on Friday that the winds were a little lighter than they would like.
It's a bit light this morning, but it has picked up a wee bit. I know they shifted the course slightly to get into some better wind for them. And we're about 8 to 10 knots I think out there at the moment they're racing in, so it's a nice breeze. It's not as much as we'd like, but it's quite nice to be able to sail in.
However, the winds picked up substantially on the following Saturday, and competitors were able to participate in a 1-mile downwind blast. Rudy Adrian, The South Today.
Complaints about swimmers jumping off the wharf around the Bluff boat ramp could see a long-standing tradition stamped out. Southland swimmers have been using the facility for generations, but some boaties have had enough. Sharon Rees has more.
When the boats get into the water, the children get out. That at least is how it was on Friday afternoon, and it's also how many Bluff residents say it is every day. But Southland's heatwave is bringing record numbers of children to the boat ramp, causing some of the boaties to complain about the dangers. And they've caught the attention of the Invercargill City Council.
We've just come down to check it out basically. Obviously there's been some concerns raised about the kids swimming in an area where there's lots of boats moving around, and it's our responsibility to help make sure that everyone's safe doing what they're doing.
But not all boaties object to swimmers in the area.
I'm very conscious and aware that there's kids all around it, and so are they. They're conscious of me and my boating movements, so it's all good. I'm not roaring in there like an idiot or anything. I'm just taking my time, and they're usually courteous and stay out of the way, or even help us put the boat on the trailer at times if I need it.
Young says jumping from the wharf has been a tradition in Bluff for as long as he can remember.
Ever since I was a kid. I've got 2 older brothers, and they spent their childhoods down here, and And just even, well, the locals, the responses on Facebook, there's I see one old lady there, she must be in her 70s or 80s, saying her kids used to swim down here. So yeah, it's almost like a right really, almost sort of cutting your teeth, your apprenticeship I suppose you could call it.
While there have been no reported incidents in the past, Munstone says the council needs to address the safety aspect before anyone does get hurt. She says the boat ramp is well overdue for repairs, and an upgrade could be a positive move for both swimmers and boaties.
It hasn't been repaired or replaced for a long time, so we have been looking at how we can repair that and replace it, working with Environment Southland to do that. And so this, how we can make it safer for swimmers and kids is going to be part of that discussion now.
Planning for the upgrade began in 2014, and a progress report is due to come before the council next month. Until then, or until the weather changes, these Bluff residents say there'll be plenty more of this. Sharon Rees, The South Today.
Young people in Greymouth are having the opportunity to explore filmmaking under the watchful eye of New Zealand cinematographer Alan Bollinger. Rudy Adrian reports on the class's progress.
These 24 pupils are making short films as part of their holiday program.
Originally it came about by introducing filmmaking to young people as a holiday program option. And we originally offered one-day program, and then from that group it was mentioned that maybe a longer program which extended their skills would be valuable.
One of the teachers is veteran camera operator Alan Bollinger, who has shot dozens of films including Goodbye Pork Pie, Vigil and The Frighteners.
The idea of this week-long course is to get them thinking about what they need ahead of time and put a bit of planning into it, and then also a bit of time into post-production so that they've got a better overview of what's involved, and also learning to work as a team.
Bollinger says the pupils need to appreciate the constraints in filmmaking.
There are realistic parameters they have to work within, like we can't go out and shoot on the top of the Paparoa Ranges with the sort of resources I've got. Mind you, some of them will get out there and do it. They'll take their GoPros and disappear into the hills at some stage, I would think.
Young filmmaker Tom Moram-Kelly is also on hand.
So I've just flown down from Wellington, and I'm helping these kids with what experience I know, and I think they're learning a lot. They're very determined in what they're doing. That's what I've noticed is, as soon as we start, they're into it. They're coming. Some of them are coming early, and they're starting up their scripts, and it's really good to see. Yeah.
Actor Ali Bellis says it's been an educational experience.
What I've been learning is heaps. I've learned that it takes way more time to prep than to actually record and shoot, and also that it's really fun to shoot, but it's also really, really fun to prep. I never thought it would be fun to prep.
Bollinger feels it's all about exposing young people to new interests.
I think the most important thing is to stimulate their imagination, stimulate their interest, and encourage them to keep going if they have a real interest in this, which is really what you need to do with youngsters, whatever their interests are, encourage them to do it.
The 6-day workshop concludes this coming Saturday with a public screening of the students' final works. Rudy Adrian, The South Today.
Still to come on Southern Newsweek, vandals damage a play centre at Halfway Bush in Dunedin, and an eco-friendly Invercargill home is rent-free for the right tenants. Thanks for staying with us. A Dunedin Play Centre volunteer is fed up with vandalism ruining playtime. Natasha Olds at Halfway Bush Playgroup found herself cleaning up on Christmas Eve following a break-in. Rosella Bone has more.
Natasha Olds is left holding the broom yet again after another night of vandalism and breaking and entering. These pictures show the damage that's taken place at the Halfway Bush Play Centre in recent weeks. Burned couches, broken roofs and overturned tables. Parents and carers are asking for the public to keep an eye out for vandals in the community after 2 incidents of destruction over the past 2 weeks. Behind me at the play shed you can see that the door has been kicked in. Natasha Olds says that this occurred on Monday night. The previous week the roof of the shed was also kicked in by vandals. Olds says the mindless and destructive behaviour is ruining what has been built for young children.
Thinking it's funny to destroy our kids' play hut and burn holes in the couch, and we've got multiple holes in the roof where they've climbed and jumped on the roof. Just getting sick of it.
She says the play centre has already paid out of its own pocket to remodel the shed from a previous attack. Olds once found herself cleaning up on Christmas Eve.
So I was notified on Christmas Eve about 9 o'clock that the garage had been broken into and all our toys had been scattered all over the yard. So thankfully someone had noticed it and contacted us, and we had to get it all tidied up and put new locks on it, which is not how you want to spend Christmas Eve.
The attacks have occurred at night, so the perpetrators remain unidentified, but several teenagers have been seen smoking on the grounds after hours. The play centre kids have been devoting time out of their school holidays to the clean-up.
They have thrown the toys everywhere and we've had to clean it up, and we've just been hanging around fixing it.
There are some older people that come around here sometimes and just smoke and like burn the couch and stuff. I don't reckon it's good for the kids because they like to play out here and stuff, and people have been knocking the boards down on the playhouse and like taking off the roof boards and stuff.
They have a strong message for those behind the attacks.
Don't break anything, or it will find who you are.
Olds says she will be taking further measures to protect the property and to find out who was behind the incidents. Roselle LeBone, The South Today.
A controlled area notice has been announced in part of Fiordland in an attempt to stop the spread of an invasive seaweed. Environment Southland announced the controlled area within Breaksea Sound last month to reduce the spread of the Asian seaweed Undaria. Sharon Rees has more.
Often referred to as the gorse of the sea, Undaria has the potential to significantly damage a unique area of Fiordland. Environment Southland and the Department of Conservation have been attempting to eradicate the Asian kelp from Breaksea Sound since 2010, but a delimiting survey carried out last year showed it was widespread in the area, prompting a controlled area notice late last year.
Because it's such an invasive plant, could actually damage the unique marine ecosystems in Fiordland, particularly the really high value aspects of it like the red and black corals. Because it was so well established, we really had to give up on the eradication or elimination idea. So now we're faced with trying to prevent further spread within the Breaksea Sound area, and obviously to prevent it getting into other fjords.
The controlled area covers a large portion of Breaksea Sound, including Beach Harbour and Sunday Cove, where the plant was originally found. Restrictions on the controlled area include a maximum mooring duration of 48 hours, with no anchoring permitted, and no marine equipment may be transported out of the area.
The whole idea of the controlled area, which is about 6 or so kilometres long and about 1 kilometre wide, where this infestation is found, is to prevent people from spending any more than a very short period of time there, to reduce the risk of them picking up this weed and moving it to other places.
And he said anyone not complying with the restrictions could face serious consequences.
We may require them to have their vessel cleaned in situ. In other words, we'd have to bring in equipment to treat the vessel in situ if it was really serious at their expense. We would probably require them to leave the Fiordland area and not come back until their vessel was clean. And then, of course, if the worst came to the worst, you'd have the options for prosecution.
Environment Southland are also battling the natural spread of Undaria through currents and tides, and will be meeting with scientists from Otago University later this month to discuss means of preventing the spread. Sharon Rees, The South Today.
A Southern electricity company is offering one tech-savvy Southland family a rent-free smart house for a year. PowerNet's Invercargill 2-bedroom home is kitted out with all the latest technologies, including a garage containing an electric car. Sharon Rees has more.
It may look like a typical Invercargill house, but this property is filled with the latest power-saving technologies. The only thing missing is a tenant. PowerNet is looking for a tech-savvy Southern family to move into its smart energy home for a year. It's rent-free and comes with a brand new electric car, and while there's a catch, it's hardly a big one.
Free rent, free use of a car for a year, so that's a pretty sweet deal. Just in return, they help us out with promoting the project and just in terms of letting the public know and the community know how these technologies affect them and allow them to access savings. And we'll be monitoring all the key technologies and some of the key appliances in the home. So we'll be able to break down the household consumption into individual appliances in most cases.
As well as using the more obvious technologies, Gentle says the company will encourage the family to use power outside of peak demand hours and have installed appliances to assist them in doing so.
We've got solar panels on the roof, and with that we've got the inverter system behind me with the battery. So those are two key technologies we're looking at, and also the electric vehicle the family will have to run around in for the year, and with that there's a charging station installed so they can charge that. And just also looking at certain appliances that might have a delay function, such as your dishwasher. You can load it up at night and then just hit the delay button so it comes on in the middle of the night, so you can access the cheaper night rates.
He says the family would get a glimpse of the way houses might operate in the future, with smart technologies growing in popularity around the world. And if PowerNet's social media response is anything to go by, hundreds of families will be applying for the opportunity. For more information on the Smart Energy Home, head to powernet.co.nz. Sharon Rees, The South Today.
That's all from us this week. You can go online and check us out on Facebook, or you can keep up with Southern News via our website, channel39.co.nz. I'm Melissa Barton, and thanks for watching.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.